I rank a lot of things related to GTA, and today it's the intro, or I should say prologue. I'm not going to consider 2D games though. Let's kick things off with number 9 on our list, Grand Theft Auto 4, The Ballad of Gay Tony. Now don't get me wrong, the game itself is a wild ride through Liberty City's nightlife, but the intro? It's like ordering a top-shelf cocktail and getting a watered-down soda instead. The Ballad of Gay Tony starts with our protagonist, Luis Lopez, in the middle of a bank heist. Sounds exciting, right? Well, in theory, yeah. But in execution, it feels a bit disconnected. We see Luis and the crew busting into the bank, tensions are high, and then boom, we cut to Luis at the nightclub. It's like the intro is trying to cram in all the elements of the game: action, nightlife, crazy characters, but it ends up feeling a bit scattered. The thing is, this intro doesn't really give us a solid grasp on who Luis is, or why we should care about him. We see him in action, sure, but we don't get that emotional hook that makes us invest in his story. It's flashy, it's got some bangin' music, but it lacks that special sauce that makes the best GTA intros so memorable. Don't get me wrong, the intro does have its moments. The bank heist scene is tense, and it does set up the high-stakes, high-life vibe of the game. But compared to other GTA intros, it feels a bit shallow. It's like it's trying to be cool and edgy without really giving us substance. It's all style, little substance, kind of like that one friend who's always talking about their crazy weekend plans, but never actually does anything exciting. Moving up just a notch to number 8, we've got Grand Theft Auto 4, The Lost and Damned. Now this intro is a step up from The Ballad of Gay Tony, but it's still hanging out in the bottom tier of our list. The Lost and Damned introduces us to Johnny Klebitz and the world of the Lost Motorcycle Club. The intro kicks off with Johnny riding his chopper through Liberty City, giving us a biker's eye view of the streets. It's gritty, it's raw, and it definitely sets a tone. But here's the thing, it doesn't quite pack the punch we're looking for in a GTA intro. The intro does a decent job of establishing the biker gang dynamics. We see the tension between Johnny and Billy, the club's leader, right off the bat. There's a club meeting, some heated words are exchanged, and we get the sense that all is not well in the world of the Lost. It's like walking into a bar and immediately sensing that a fight's about to break out. There's tension in the air, but we're not quite sure where it's going to lead. What the intro does well is set up the grimy, rough-around-the-edges world of the biker gang. The visuals are all desaturated colors and harsh lighting, really hammering home the idea that this ain't your typical GTA glamour. It's effective in establishing the tone, but it doesn't quite have that wow factor we've come to expect. The main issue with The Lost and Damned's intro is that it feels a bit, well, lost. It's trying to establish Johnny as this level-headed guy in a world of chaos, but it doesn't quite give us enough to really latch onto. We get glimpses of the conflict to come, but it's all a bit vague. It's like being handed a map with half the street names missing. We've got an idea of where we're going, but the journey isn't quite clear. Both of these intros suffer from a similar problem. They're not bad, per se, but they lack that special something that makes the best GTA intros so iconic. They don't quite manage to pull us into the world and make us immediately invested in the character's story. It's like they're setting up dominoes but forget to actually knock them down. Now, it's worth noting that both of these are DLC expansions for GTA 4, not full standalone games. That might explain why their intros feel a bit less impactful. They're building on an existing world, rather than introducing us to a completely new one. But still, when you think about the explosive, memorable intros of other GTA games, these two just don't quite measure up. Coming in at number 7, we've got Grand Theft Auto, Liberty City Stories. Now, this intro isn't bad by any means, but it's kinda like that pizza place you go to when your favorite joint is closed. It gets the job done, but it's not exactly blowing your mind. The intro kicks off with our boy Tony Cipriani returning to Liberty City after laying low for a few years. We see him cruising through the streets, taking in the sights, and eventually meeting up with his old boss, Salvatore Leone. It's a solid setup, giving us a clear picture of who Tony is and what his situation is. It lacks that special spark that makes the best GTA intros so memorable. It's like the intro is playing it safe, coloring inside the lines instead of going wild with the whole coloring book. We get a sense of the city and Tony's place in it, but it doesn't really grab us by the collar and pull us in. The intro does have its strengths. It establishes the time period nicely, showing us a Liberty City that's grittier and more run down than what we saw in GTA 3. And it does a decent job of setting up the conflicts Tony's going to face, with hints of tension in the Leone family. But compared to the more explosive or emotionally charged intros in the series, Liberty City Story's opening feels a bit, well, vanilla. It's not giving us that, holy crap, I need to play this game right now feeling. It's more of a, yeah, okay, I'm mildly interested vibe. Moving up to number 6, we've got Grand Theft Auto, Vice City Stories. This intro is definitely a step up from Liberty City Stories, but it's still not quite hitting those top-tier notes. Vice City Stories introduces us to Victor Vance, and right off the bat, it's trying to tug at our heartstrings. We see Vic, a soldier stationed in Vice City, talking about wanting to help his sick brother. It's a noble motivation, and it immediately sets Vic apart from some of the more self-interested protagonists we've seen in the series. The intro does a good job of establishing Vice City in the 80s. We get those classic pastel colors, the iconic Ocean Drive, and a taste of the sun-soaked criminal underworld we'll be diving into. It's like stepping into a time machine set to Miami Vice, and that's definitely a point in its favor. Where this intro falls a bit short is in its pacing and impact. It starts strong with Vic's personal story, but then it kinda meanders. We see Vic meeting his corrupt superior, getting involved in some shady business, and eventually being dishonorably discharged. All important plot points, sure, but it doesn't quite pack the punch we're looking for in a top-tier GTA intro. It's like the intro is trying to do too much. It wants to set up Vic's backstory, introduce the main antagonist, establish the setting, and kick off the plot all at once. And in trying to juggle all these elements, it doesn't quite nail any of them perfectly. Don't get me wrong, it's not a bad intro by any means. It does its job of setting up the story and getting us into the game. But when you compare it to the absolute bangers at the top of our list, it feels a bit lukewarm. It's like expecting a roller coaster and getting a merry-go-round instead. Fun, sure, but not quite the thrill we were hoping for. Both of these intros suffer from a similar issue. They're competent, but they don't quite capture that magical GTA spark. They set up their stories and characters well enough, but they lack that extra oomph that makes you sit up and say, whoa, this is gonna be epic. Now, it's worth noting that both of these are from the GTA Stories series, which were originally designed for the PSP. That might explain why their intros feel a bit less impactful. They were working with different hardware limitations and possibly smaller budgets. But still, in the pantheon of GTA intros, they're hanging out in the pretty good but not great territory. Coming in at number 5, we've got the OG of 3D GTA games, Grand Theft Auto 3. Now, this intro is a bit of a special case. It's simple, it's short, but damn if it isn't effective. The GTA 3 intro kicks off with a bank heist gone wrong. We see our silent protagonist pulling off a job with his girlfriend Catalina and their accomplice Miguel. It all goes sideways when Catalina double-crosses Claude, shooting him and leaving him for dead. Boom. Just like that, we're thrown into the action. What makes this intro special is its simplicity. There's no long exposition, no drawn-out character introductions. It's just pure, distilled action and betrayal. It's like a shot of espresso for your gaming experience. Short, intense, and it kicks you right into the story. The intro does a fantastic job of setting up the gritty, no-nonsense tone of GTA 3. The rain-soaked streets of Liberty City, the brutal betrayal, the silent protagonist. It all comes together to create this noir-like atmosphere that defines the game. It's not flashy, it's not elaborate, but it gets the job done with style. Now, why isn't it higher on the list? Well, compared to later games, it does feel a bit bare bones. It doesn't give us much insight into the world or the characters beyond that initial setup. But for what it is, and considering it was the first 3D GTA game, it's a solid intro that deserves respect. Moving up to number 4, we've got Grand Theft Auto 4. Talk about a change of pace. This intro is like the polar opposite of GTA 3. It's slow-burning, atmospheric, and all about setting the stage. GTA 4's intro follows Niko Bellic as he arrives in Liberty City. We see him on the boat, taking in the sights of his new home, while he narrates his hopes for a fresh start. Right off the bat, we get a sense of who Niko is. An immigrant with a troubled past, looking for the American dream. What this intro does brilliantly is establish the tone and atmosphere of GTA 4. The gray, gritty Liberty City feels almost oppressive. Nico's cautious optimism contrasts sharply with the reality we see on screen. It's like watching the opening of a great crime drama, slow burning, but full of promise. The intro also does a great job of setting up the key relationships in the game. We meet Roman, Nico's bumbling cousin, and immediately understand the dynamic between them. It's a masterclass in character establishment without resorting to heavy-handed exposition. So why isn't it higher? Well, while it's fantastic at setting the mood, it lacks that explosive action or shocking moment that some of the top-tier intros have. It's a slow burn, and while that works perfectly for GTA 4's more serious tone, it doesn't quite have that wow factor we see in our top entries. And now, sliding into the number 3 spot, we've got Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. Oh boy, this is where things really start to heat up. San Andreas's intro is like a perfectly crafted movie opening. We start with CJ, our protagonist, returning to Los Santos after years away. As he rides from the airport, we get this brilliant narration that sets up the state of the city, CJ's family situation, and the conflicts he's about to face. What makes this intro so effective is how efficiently it establishes everything we need to know. In just a few minutes, we get a clear sense of who CJ is, what he's up against, and the world he's stepping back into. It's like the first track on a classic album. It hooks you immediately and sets the tone for everything that follows. The intro culminates in that iconic scene where corrupt cops harass CJ, establishing them as antagonists and giving us our first taste of the game's themes of corruption and injustice. It's a powerful moment that immediately invests us in CJ's story. San Andreas's intro is also dripping with atmosphere. The 90s setting is established perfectly, from the music to the fashion to the overall vibe of Los Santos. It's like stepping into a time machine, but one that's headed for trouble. So why isn't it at the top of our list? Honestly, it's a close call. The San Andreas intro is nearly perfect. It's only nudged out of the top spots by intros that go even bigger in terms of action or emotional impact. But make no mistake, this intro is a classic for a reason. Coming in at number 2, we've got Grand Theft Auto Vice City. Man, talk about making an entrance. This intro is like stepping into a time machine set to maximum 80s. The Vice City intro kicks off with a failed drug deal that goes spectacularly wrong. We see our boy Tommy Vercetti, fresh out of prison, caught in the middle of this mess. The whole scene plays out like something straight out of a classic crime flick. You've got the neon lights, the synth music, the pastel suits, and enough hairspray to punch a hole in the ozone layer. What makes this intro so killer is how it immediately immerses you in the world and the story. In just a few minutes, we get a clear picture of who Tommy is, what he's up against, and the kind of over-the-top action we can expect from the game. It's like the intro is saying, "Buckle up, buddy. This ain't your grandma's GTA." The attention to detail in this intro is off the charts. Everything from the music to the fashion to the dialogue screams 1980s excess. It's like Rockstar took every 80s crime movie cliché, cranked it up to 11, and somehow made it feel fresh and exciting. But it's not just about style. This intro does a great job of setting up the game's plot and central conflict. Tommy's in hot water with the mob, he's got to recoup the lost money, and he's stuck in a city he doesn't know. In just a few minutes, we're fully invested in Tommy's story and ready to take on Vice City. And now, drumroll please. Taking the top spot on our list is none other than Grand Theft Auto 5. Yeah, you probably saw this coming, but there's a good reason why this intro is sitting pretty at number 1. The GTA 5 intro is like a Hollywood blockbuster compressed into a playable sequence. It kicks off with a bang, literally, as we're thrown into a high-stakes bank heist in North Yankton. We meet Michael and Trevor in their prime, pulling off what seems to be the perfect score. But as any GTA fan knows, things never go quite according to plan. What sets this intro apart is how it seamlessly blends storytelling with gameplay. It's not just a cutscene. You're in control, making decisions and pulling off the heist yourself. It's like the game is saying, "Welcome to GTA 5. Here's a taste of the crazy stuff you're gonna do." The pacing in this intro is perfect. It starts off tense and methodical as you sneak into the bank, then ramps up to all-out action as things go sideways. And just when you think you've got a handle on things, bam! The game hits you with that time jump, setting up the main story. But it's not just about the action. This intro does a brilliant job of establishing the game's three protagonists. We see Michael and Trevor's relationship in its early days, get a sense of their personalities, and even get a glimpse of how their paths will diverge. And then there's Franklin, introduced in a completely different context, giving us a taste of the diverse perspectives we'll experience throughout the game. What really pushes this intro over the top is its production value. The visuals are stunning, the voice acting is top-notch, and the whole thing feels like you're playing through a big-budget crime movie. It's GTA turned up to 11, and it sets the perfect tone for the epic story that follows. Looking back at our list, it's amazing to see how GTA intros have evolved over the years. From the simple yet effective opening of GTA 3 to the cinematic spectacle of GTA 5, each game has found new ways to draw players into its world of crime, chaos, and satire. What do you think of this ranking? Please let me know in the comments section, and I will see you in the next video. Till then, take care and have a nice day.